if evolution is real, and if there is this constant, I don't know, but it's visible. Like you can measure it in certain animals.
You can measure adaptation.
Yeah.
But there's no evidence that in fact, I think we've kind of given up on the idea of evolution. The theory of evolution as articulated by Darwin is like kind of not true. Right?
In what sense?
Well, in the most basic sense, the idea that, all life emerged from a single cell organism and over time, and there would be a fossil record of that, and there's not. And
there's not a fossil record of transitionary species, like species that are adapting to its environment.
There's
and
tons of record of adaptation, and you see it in your own life. I mean, I have a lot of dogs. I see adaptation in dogs, through the litter to litter. But no, there's no evidence at all zero, that people evolve seamlessly from a single cell amoeba. No, there's not. There's no chain in the fossil record of that at all. And that's why you don't actually hear people, you hear them make reference to evolution because the theory of adaptation is obviously true. But Darwin's theory's totally that's why it's still a theory almost 200 years later. No, we have not found that at all. And I can't even guess. I mean, I have my own theories on it, but they're not proven.
What are your theories?
God created people, distinctly, and animals. I mean, I think what every person on Earth thought until the mid-19th century, actually.
Right, but
the voice you just heard was Tucker Carlson on telling Joe Rogan that everybody's a creationist now, I guess.
I did not get that memo.
I know that sometimes Joe Rogan smokes weed with his guests. Do you think Tucker Carlson was like under the influence there? Or
if you heard that laugh that he did, that laugh makes at least one or two more reappearances. That high-pitched cackle. So I don't know. I don't want to say I'm an expert on the behavior of. I don't know if it was weed or what, but it was.
I will actually go ahead and admit this is kind of pathetic, but I a couple of years ago when I went on the show, I spent like a week agonizing about whether to get high with him if he asked me to. It's like if he offered it, right? Like it's like, do I get high with Rogan? Because on the one hand, that like sounds kind of bucket listy. On the other hand, I'm sure I do not have the tolerance for whatever he smokes, and like I was worried I'd be like incoherent, in what follows. So
that is the Jewish tradition that I follow. The neuroticism to just spend a week being like, do I do it? Do I not do it?
I know I do it and probably end up as a psodist on here.
I do. Again, we've talked about like some of these guys broadcasting instincts, even if like Alex Jones and Rogan, not to lump them, but like I love that instinct where Rogan's like, I'm pretty sure that it exists, but then he just drops it. He's like, what do you think? He's just like, all right, let's hear what you think because it's gonna be pretty funny.
Yeah, right. Like his first instinct is to be like, no, that's crazy. Like obviously, evolutionary biology is like a well-established science. And he's like, no, what am I doing? Just let him go. Just let him cook.
Let him riff. Yeah, based on what I gave him earlier.
Yeah, I remember that Tucker Carlson also did that cackling laugh when he interviewed Putin too, and I was like, this is so embarrassing as an American. You're doing that cackle. I don't remember what he was laughing at, but I
think it was when Putin would insult him. He would laugh. Yeah.
I mean, I loved the Putin interviews later where he was like the interviews he gave on Russian TV where they asked him about talking to Tucker, and he was like, seemed like very simple man. I was surprised. I thought he would be smart. It's like, but it's funny that you mentioned the Putin interview because we have another. Let's do the second Tucker clip here.
So they're from here, and they've been here for thousands of years, whatever they are. And it's pretty clear to me that they're spiritual entities, whatever that means. They're supernatural, and which is to say supernatural means above the natural, above the observable nature. And they don't behave according to the laws of science as measured by people, and they've been here for a long time. And there's a ton of evidence they're under the ocean and under the ground. So, like, with that fact set, what do you conclude?
Yeah. And I have to say, when I was watching this, the Tucker saying there's tons of evidence. So not enough evidence for Darwinian evolution, tons of evidence that there are aliens in the ocean, and but they're not actually aliens, they're spiritual beings. I flashed to a moment in the Tucker Putin interview where he where you remember he asked Putin at one point, I think kind of assuming there might be a little bit more cross-cultural conservative commonality here, that it's like, do you ever feel when you think about these events that there's that there's something more than human going on here, that there's some sort of spiritual dimension or hand of God? And like then they do the translation, and then Putin says something in Russian, translate, no, I don't think that. Like, it just like completely refused to like humor, like whatever, whatever Tucker was saying. It's like, no, that sounds stupid, man.
It sounds like Tucker was like watching The Abyss and was like taking edibles at the time. But like how you're supposed to like just take one and just like give it a moment, let it get into your system. He's just like, man, I'm not feeling the effects, and just keeps taking more and more edibles. And then like this is the result of after watching.
And then he was like, oh shit, I'm supposed to be on Rogan in like 15 minutes.
Yeah, I gotta turn off The Abyss.
Yeah, I mean, Ben, I picked up on that same contradiction, right? That on the one hand, evolution is just a theory, and theories are not, they're not law. But for some reason, these supernatural beings at the bottom of the ocean are like the laws of science. They defy the laws of science. It's like, okay, well, what is the law of science to you, Tucker Carlson? Is it creationism? I don't really get it, but I think he's probably smoked weed with Joe Rogan before.
Yeah. Yeah, that seems fair. Yeah, I was only offered bourbons. That was fine. But yeah, this is all the worrying was pointless. But anyway, so let's okay, so I think we've established that this was a pretty amazing interview. We got the creationism. We have the aliens that aren't actually aliens; they're actually supernatural beings, living under the ocean. We also had this.
Well, you could say the same about the atomic bomb, right?
Yes, you could.
And you could say that we have to develop it like Oppenheimer felt before the Nazis did.
I love that. How'd that work? How'd that work?
Well,
I love, by the way, that people on my side, I'll just admit it, on the right, have spent the last 80 years defending dropping nuclear weapons on civilians. Like, are you joking?
Right.
That's just like prima facie evil.
Yeah.
If you can't, if we hadn't done that, then this, that, the other thing, that was actually a great savings. Like, no, it's wrong to drop nuclear weapons on people. And if you find yourself arguing that it's a good thing to drop nuclear weapons on people, then you are evil. Like, it's not a tough one, right? It's not a hard call for you. It's not a hard call for me. So with that in mind, like, why would you want nuclear weapons? It's like just a mindless, childish sort of intellectual exercise to justify, like, oh no, it's really good because someone else will get it. How about no? How about?
And out of those three clips, say, all right, the various opinions he's expressing here, that third one was the one that got the attention of the Daily Wire's Jeremy Boring, who I think we have the tweet from him. People who deny the moon landing or suggest America is evil for its use of atomic weapons against Imperial Japan, or who say that George Bush was behind 9/11, actually hate this country. One of these things is not like the other two. Right? Like, this is like one of those SAT questions, you're supposed to differentiate, which item doesn't fit. So yeah, this is like, all right, man, we can all, like the alien beings under the ocean that are actually supernatural, creationism, whatever. Fine. Wait, you think dropping atomic weapons on civilians was bad? God, sounds like you hate America.
Yeah, or he saw The Abyss, which is the whole point of that movie.
Okay, all right. I really love that it's like all the insanity in that interview. We're gonna watch a bunch of it not in the post game, but all of the insanity that was going on in that interview, the like the one moment of like actual moral lucidity that he has is the one that's like an issue for Jeremy Boring. It's like, you know, it's like, oh yeah, maybe it was really bad to like massacre a bunch of, you know, random like children and housewives and, you know, like doctors and nurses in Hiroshima.
Yeah, I mean, I think compared to the moon landing one, which is, you know, it's not one I believe in, but I think that's comparatively pretty mild. You know, that's always the conspiracy theory that when I found myself arguing with someone, I'd be like, just let him believe it. You know, like it's not the worst versus, you know, I mean, also, you know, there's two conspiracy to your point about the SAT analogy section or whatever, which I think is actually defunct, but yeah, but what would have, you know, this would have been a good question, you know, 20 years ago or so. But it was also two of them are conspiracy theories, and one is like a moral judgment. It doesn't really. I understand that he's trying to equate them, but
but morally, should we have gone to the moon?
Yeah, people who believe we should have gone to the moon or that Bush shouldn't have done 9/11 or yeah, but no, it to Tucker's point, which I don't say very often, if you find yourself like Jeremy Boring just passionately defending, you know, that's the one thing you're passionately defending from refuting from a 3-hour interview, you know, no matter what you think about it, like, you know, just the right to kill hundreds of thousands of people without even questioning it. You know, it's probably good to think about whatever political side you're on, to think about like, am I doing the best I could be doing? But, you know, I mean, like, should I, like, I think that's a good time to like at least back up, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I've got to say, I don't say the sentence very often, but I think Tucker Carlson is completely correct that, you know, I think that like wiping out a city full of random people who don't get to decide Japanese foreign policy is in fact prima facie evil, right? Like that's, and you know, and it is in fact really vile to defend that. And I mean, it's funny. I've actually seen, so the Jeremy Boring one was the first one we saw, so that's why we included the tweet. But I've seen several of these since then, you know, of like sort of, you know, conservatives being like, whoa, he was really out of line, you know, with that Hiroshima thing. You know, it's like, this is, I really can't imagine being not only defending that, but being so emotionally invested in defending it that you're offended by somebody saying that it was wrong. You have been watching free public content from Give Them an Argument. To access every single episode of the show, the main show on Monday nights, all of the streams, all of the debate breakdowns, all of the patron-exclusive post-games on Monday nights, all of the patron-exclusive bonus episodes every week, and much, much more, go to patreon.com/Ben Burgis. I cannot resist ending this with, don't be foolish.